I'm going to abbreviate the message from Tom and Mari and Cliff and so many others, just because we want to get that round dance in with our young people. That's going to be really good. Great stories. What defines a great story? Certainly from the indigenous perspective, stories educate. There's a sacredness in words. The spoken words is revered. The Crow have a phrase, dashushua, breaking with the mouth. That which comes through the mouth is to be respected. Words carry meaning. As Roger said, story and song are ceremony. They certainly educate. They're certainly fun. We can laugh. But they also are linked to important key, what the Coeur d'Alene call miep, teachings. Teachings from all things. Great values embedded in those stories. One of the powerful things about storytelling, of all the gifts you have to make a story come alive, is a sense of what the Coeur d'Alenes call sichumsh, what the Coeur d'Alenes call sukum wach milks. Sukum wach milks. Empathy. The most powerful thing to make a story come alive is the ability of the storyteller to have empathy for the characters within the story, and most importantly with the audience, connecting with the audience. You need empathy for that story to come alive, to become more like ceremony. But the audience too, they need empathy to get inside the story. And so there's many different techniques storytellers use, but ultimately is there a capacity for empathy? Sukum wach milks. And that story then comes alive. It's understood as time suspended, or time beginning, or time is the most important place. Story becomes reality. The stories we tell through the ceremony, through the words we use. A reverence toward the story, because the story becomes reality. A couple quick notes before I finish off. You may have noticed some interesting behaviors on the part of chipmunk. I actually didn't tell that story today, did I? Another time. Yeah, it's a short story. Chipmunk and snake are there in their lodge. It's a winter, cold outside. What has not come up yet? The grasses and the roots. And in that lodge, snake has a stick and chipmunk has a stick. And they have a log that is burning slowly. And they keep it alive by poking the flame. Chipmunk and snake, they poke it. And snake says, as he pokes, winter. Looking outside, it's winter. Chipmunk says, no, spring, winter. And that continues all day until night when they sleep. Next day they pick up what they've been doing. That's how they spend their winter, poking that fire. Winter, spring, winter, spring. And they never get tired of it. They continue that all night, every day, till eventually the log burns down. And who would be the last to poke it? It was chipmunk. Pokes it, spring, the last, and the log is out. He goes out, and there the grasses are green, the spring has come, the camas is ready, it's all waiting. He comes back in to snake, and snake says, I smell spring. Oh no, chipmunk says, oh no, not at all, it's still winter. You smell the mat, it's getting old, that's all you smell. I think I smell spring. No, it's still winter. Goes back out, enjoys a little meal, comes back in, oh, it's still winter. Eventually snake goes out and says, spring, and it's sprung. The end of the trail. Words matter. Words have that power to bring forth that which we tell, so we need to respect those words. You'll notice in some of my stories a little bit of trickery. I think we saw that with Four Smokes, now with chipmunk, and certainly with salmon. The trickster has an important role in that Native peoples differentiate the trickster who is self-effacing, doing something to help the common good, who embraces the values of sympathy, empathy, of goodness, and all those things, and is part of the wheel, part of the circle here. And then there's a self-serving coyote who's in it for himself, who uses lots of false narratives and alt facts and false fake news and to get his way for very self-serving reasons. The bottom line for the trickster is a huge array of good coyote. The self-effacing coyote does good things, and the self-serving coyote. We can be comforted to know that the self-serving coyote has an important role in his season. In his season, he tells us what not to do because he does everything opposite of what should be done, the values of the community of what he does. He's a great role model of what not to do. And it's important to recognize also in Native stories, typically the self-serving coyote as opposed to the self-effacing coyote usually is duped by his own trickery and becomes the fool in the end. There's a time for a coyote, typically after the first frost in winter, and then when the thunder comes in spring, the coyote season is over. All the stories, I'll just wrap this up really quickly here, all the stories we shared today are linked to that landscape. For Native peoples, the Coeur d'Alene have a term, Henquil-Quinet, the Nez Perce, Tamalwit, the Crow, Ashamal Eachia. We're part of everything. We're all relatives. There are many different human peoples. The black people, black pouches. White people, white pouches. Red people, native people. Yellow pouches, oriental people. All the people are together. All the people are one. Differences like that. I guess the final thought is empathy. Sukumwachwach milks, the power of empathy. So, are you texting? Ginger, good. The kids will be here shortly. So, from Tom's perspective, those great stories for him are embedded in the MIP, the teachings of honesty and truth, the teachings of sharing with those in need. The Nez Perce have a term, tuki, which means to share food with those in need, without thought of receive anything back, just generosity like that, to be linked. There's a Coeur d'Alene term called unsungquin. Everything is equal. When Cliff was explaining that term, he was showing a little caterpillar as he was walking on a log, and he said, our eyes meet sunquin. Everything is equal. It's a world of human peoples of many different types. It's a world of fish peoples and salmon. And that story of salmon then is tied this time of year. The calendar of Native peoples isn't so much linked with the stars or the celestial heavens, with the changes that come with the moons. They're linked to the landscape. When the huckleberries are ready, when the salmon is ready, you'll hear salmon story certain times of the year. Now, and again in the fall. You'll hear the story of Four Smokes as the tribe begins to go over the mountains and hunt the buffalo. You'll hear the story of chipmunk and snake when the grasses and the camas start coming up. As each of the relatives offer themselves, the relatives of fish people, the buffalo people, the plant people, we listen to them for the gifts they're giving us. So time is really determined along those lines. So, empathy. Here are the kids. I'll turn it back over to Roger.